Hello, shalom, and welcome to ROPESCAST, the independent voice of the Middle East. I'm Ibrahim Abu Ahmad.
And I'm Ksenia Svetlova.
ROPES stands for the Regional Organization for Peace, Economics, and Security. We are a young organization that works to lay the ground for a post-conflict Middle East by connecting forward-thinking Israelis and Palestinian emerging leaders with like-minded peers from the region. We share a holistic vision of the Middle East where everyone has more to gain from conflict resolution and integration than lose. If you are looking to hear more information about ROPES, please visit our website at ropes.org.
And our very special guest for today is Dr. Najat As-Said. Dr. As-Said is an author, researcher, news contributor, and analyst focusing on the JCC and the MENA region. She's also a consultant in strategic communication and crisis media management, certified in digital and social media marketing and communications. She's an adjunct professor in the American University in the Emirates College of Mass Media and Communication. She's also a columnist for both Al-Ittihad and Arab News newspapers.
Dr. Najat, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure too.
I guess I would start with a question about your book, because I know you've authored a book about Twitter diplomacy and about during the times of the Abraham Accords, and about how it seems that we witness another episode of fascinating drama right now on Twitter and other social media. We see that everything is boiling with news about the possible normalization agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. In your opinion and expertise, how does media in general influence political processes? What role does it play, I guess, in general and in this particular case?
Well, media can influence the political process through different ways. One of the main ones is information dissemination. Now there's unusual intensity, as we see in the news about the possible normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And this tactic may often be intentional to test the public's opinion and prepare it for possible normalization. So all of these kind of news leaks that we see, it is intentional to test the public's opinion and to see whether they are accepting, not accepting, especially from the Saudi side. So from this point, media can shape the public opinion with the repetition. And this is what we call in one of the media theories, the cultivation theory. So that's why you see bulk of news these days, like so unusual, like about the normalization about Saudi Arabia and Israel, until the word normalization becomes so, when the time comes, it doesn't make really a big shock to the Saudi public specifically, because I don't think it will make any kind of shock to the Israelis anyways. But the Saudi side, maybe, no, it will make shock if you don't prepare them. So that's why we see intensity of this kind of news. So this is one of the tools of media. Another way is through the agenda setting. And we know one of the main components of media is the agenda setting. So what is the agenda setting? The media has the power to set the political agenda by deciding which stories to cover prominently. So the media doesn't force you actually to what to see or what to listen or what to read, but by making this news so prominent, it actually grabs you unconsciously that this is the most important news and I have to focus on this because it was so much intensified in the news internationally, locally, and regionally. When media outlets give extensive coverage to a certain issue, it can draw the attention to this issue and encourage discussions about among the public and policymakers. And this is the main thing about it. So when it makes the news this type of topic or issue so prominent, it forces unconsciously the public and policymakers to think about it. So what about if it happens? What will be the reaction? So this is the kind of thoughts that will come to policymakers, and from the public, you will see more negotiations about it. So it won't be a taboo like before. So people who are like more open about it will be encouraged to talk about it much more. And the people who are against it will putting all their concerns on the table. So this is one of the tools of agenda setting. The tools of media in general. And one of it is agenda setting. In addition, media can be a vital component of public diplomacy efforts, helping countries and leaders shape their image on the international stage. Through media campaigns and strategic messaging, countries can promote their foreign policy objectives. So this is the main component of public diplomacy. And even if you go to any foreign agency institute, the foreign ministry, or whenever you see the public diplomacy department, you see media as a major component of public diplomacy because it shapes the country's image internationally. So when a country has a distorted image in a certain area, it has to activate its public diplomacy, because especially through the media. And this is the power of soft power, actually. And actually, we are living in the age of soft power these days. That you can make a whole changes politically through activating your soft power, and one of it is the public diplomacy. However, in my opinion,
I would like just
yes.
to ask you small questions here. So you often join as an expert the I-24 media from Dubai. You are based there. So I just wanted to ask you, so how is it reflected right now in the media in the Gulf, specifically in the UAE? What is their mindset there? Because you are following the news, you are following what people write in social networks. Is it as prominent as it used to be before the Abraham Accords were concluded?
So you're saying what's the opinion of the people of the UAE here about the normalization between the possible normalization?
Also, is it very high on the agenda? Because you mentioned the agenda setting, that the media does not necessarily tell us what to think, but it sets for us what to think about. So did you mention that, you have like a large volume of news that is dedicated to it, or is it just as usual?
Well, honestly, I see this agenda setting regarding the possible normalization or the push of the normalization between between Saudi Arabia and Israel is coming from international media, not from the local media of the UAE. Mm-hmm. So I don't see that much focus here in the local news, and even but because the international media, especially the US media, is so powerful. So whenever you see something really highlighted in the US media, it will have its impact on the other media outlets globally. So from this point, it has its impact. But from the local media here in the UAE, there's not much attention. First of all, Dubai respects the sovereignty of other nations and does not intrude into their private affairs. Dubai and the UAE in general. However, since the UAE forged its historic peace agreement with Israel, it will definitely welcome further peace agreements between Arab nations and Israel, because such agreements have the potential to reshape the geopolitical dynamics of the Middle East, fostering regional stability, and potentially aiding in the resolution of long-standing conflicts in the region. And the most important thing for a business-minded country like the UAE and Dubai specifically, it definitely will foster and will improve economic and technological cooperation among these countries. So from that perspective, the UAE will welcome that, and that will reinforce that if something like this happen, that the step that the UAE has done, the bold step that the UAE has done, and even Bahrain, that means it is something right. If a big country like Saudi Arabia did it, that means that what they have done is right. So that will boost even and sustain what they have done in 2020.
Kind of in a way like during Camp David, Egypt concluded peace agreement with Israel, and then during Oslo Accords, it welcomed Palestinian autonomy, and then Jordan, and then other Arab countries, because it was the step in the direction that they already took.
Yes, but however, this is the kind of I don't know if you call it double standard or what exactly. You see, some of the Arab countries are, for example, are not against countries like Egypt or like Morocco. Like the last, if we take example, the last Abraham Accord. If you see in that Abraham Accord countries, what is the most countries that were attacked? You will see number one, UAE. And then comes Bahrain, and Bahrain to a lower standard. But UAE was number one. However, we heard nothing about Morocco and Sudan. On the contrary, some countries think that what Morocco has done is a good step. So here comes the double standard. It is okay for certain countries, but when it comes to other countries, especially the GCC countries, because they are rich countries, no. Normalization is not allowed for you. So this is what sometimes shock the public in the Gulf. And when it comes to Saudi Arabia, I'm sure it will be the attack will be worse than UAE. Not only because it's a rich country and it's one of the GCC countries, because it is also the beholder of the two holy mosques. And I'm sure that no matter how much there are leaks and preparation for it that comes years before the actual normalization, there will be still attacks from certain people and certain countries. And I know these countries very well from where it will come.
So I guess my question would be, if that's the situation in the UAE, I'm wondering about what's going on the street in Saudi Arabia, because you mentioned one of the things that social media does is to test the discussion on the street. So what are the voices in Saudi Arabians are saying? And actually, have you seen an evolvement in the discussion? Have it changed? Are the views about the normalization changed throughout the past year, or is it the same? How do you see it on your end?
Well, this is a very important question. And honestly, I couldn't give you an accurate 100% answer unless I myself go there, do a survey, do a study, make a focus group, make interviews in order to give you a really 100% response to your important question. However, since I am from there and I have relatives, I have the friends over there, let me tell you. First of all, let me give you an overview about the social network, what I see in the social networks. Often those social networks do not provide a comprehensive representation of the entire society, because particularly since a substantial portion of users are young. Nevertheless, opinions expressed within these networks tend to be diverse. Some individuals are very enthusiastic about normalization efforts, while others maintain skepticism, and some outright oppose such endeavors. They are totally against it. So on my observations, the prevailing sentiments on the ground, and that's what I saw in my last trip specifically to Saudi Arabia, the overall sentiment appears to be opposing to the normalization, encompassing both the younger and older generation, driven from a different perspective. So let me give you an example. So if we divide them to the older generation and the younger generation, the older generations resist this kind of idea because to them, the Palestinian issue is still very significant, and it is still engraved in their minds and hearts. And it's really deeply rooted from a religious perspective and upbringing of many Saudis. Saudi Arabia was under a very ultra-conservative system for many, many, many years. So we don't expect that this kind of modernization and the Vision 230 that was just implemented 2-3 years ago, it will change the overall society. This will take long time because it was, the country specifically was under this kind of ultra-conservative system for more than 4 decades. I'm talking here specifically from year 1979, which is the year of the revolution of Iran, and that nobody can imagine the impact of the Iranian revolution on the Saudi society and the Saudi system until what we see, until MBS came and he made this kind of bold changes. It is true that the changes started after the September 11 from the pressure of the US to open up the system. And even when King Abdullah came, he made a lot of changes, and especially with the scholarships that happened. But the true aggressive changes happened during the MBS. However, if we go to the younger generation, the opposition is often grounded in a perceived lack of tangible benefits resulting from normalization. The younger generation keeps asking what other countries benefit. That shows me that the media is lacking of showing the benefits that the other countries gain to the public. So here, the concern, there's not much concern about the Palestinian cause to the younger generation as much as the older generation, but they will keep asking what benefits I will gain. I didn't see much gain happen to the UAE, for example, and Bahrain. What I see, the Israelis gained more than the others. That's what I hear them saying. So here, and also they say like countries like Egypt and Jordan made this kind of normalization because they were like they want to stop the war, but in our case, what we need to stop. So it's not that urgent for us. So here they're thinking about about this kind of normalization from national concerns more than international or Arab nationalism like the older generation. So this is what I see. And also because when you are ignorant about the benefits and about what's going on the ground, it's easy to be influenced by people who have information. So what I saw, even the younger generation who are neutral, who are not against or pro, okay? When they talk to their parents and their parents so much against it, they get influenced and they start to be against it, because they don't have the rationale to talk to when they negotiate with their family to defend it. They don't have information. So accordingly, they get influenced by their parents.
It's interesting what you're saying, because my immediate expectation would be that people will be pushed towards the Palestinian support of the Palestinian case because of social media, like meaning that it will be more prominent among the younger generation rather than the old. So it's interesting that you're saying it's actually the opposite, the other way around.
No, it is the other way around, because now, especially also with the younger generation, especially also with the Vision 2030 and what MBS is imposing, the identity of the country has changed from Islamism to nationalism. So accordingly, instead of the older generation were more influenced by the Arab nationalism of Nasser, and then after that, after the late 60s, they were influenced by the Islamism that happened after the Iranian Revolution, and then the Ikhwan, and then all of that. But the younger generation, no, they are more pragmatic. They are only thinking what benefits my country. Whatever benefits my country, I will go for it. If this thing doesn't benefit my country and accordingly eventually I won't gain anything, why will I go for it? Very pragmatic way of thinking. No gain, no encouragement. This is how they think.
Dr. Najat, just a small remark and the question in this regard. You were mentioning, of course, the influence of the social media and so on. And I'm thinking about various, perhaps malign information campaigns that are running on social media, when you actually cannot tell who is the person who is dispersing the information, who tries to destabilize, perhaps to use fake news. And as far as I know from my friends in Israel who explore the scene, you have now Iran that is playing quite a big role in, disseminating some news about Israeli-Saudi reconciliation or normalization in this regard. So, this is something that you cannot disregard, that there are also a part from the official players who push the information in various sources. You have also the unofficial and also truthful, fake sources of the information, and it's very dangerous.
Let me tell you something here, please. And here I'm talking as a media expert.
Yeah.
Okay, in this age, there's something, one of the theories that came up is the use and gratification theory. What does that mean? Due to the many channels and due to the many social media outlets and due to the huge source of information, now you don't have the bullet effect of media. It's not like when I see leakage or any information coming from Hezbollah or from Iran or from whatever hostile country, I will be influenced. Even the younger generation, by the way, they are very alert, maybe even much more than the older generation.
Maybe more
because they are exposed to multi-source of information. So here, those who got influence, either one of the two. Either they are truly believing in what those people are saying. So when those people put this information in the social media, they tickle something that is subtle in them. They are truly actually believing in what they are saying. Like they have this kind of hostility towards Israel, whether through the textbooks or through their upbringing. Mind you that the family atmosphere also influenced the younger generation more than the social media, by the way. Okay, so here when they listen to those people, and with the repetition, it tackles something that it is there. And also the other part that gets influenced, those ignorant who do not have information at all. And actually, those are the most highly targeted by any kind of social media influencer and media in general. They don't target people who have opinionated people, whether the young or the old. They target people who are clueless, who do not have information. So accordingly, any information will have an impact upon them. This is the dangerous part. And this is what we need to be really aware and alert about. Those who do not have any idea about, for example, what are the benefits of such peace agreements. Sure. What is the actual nature of Israel? Actually, what people see on TV is horrible. They always see it as a hostile country, occupier. They see the Palestinians are fragile and victims and tortured and spilled out of their lands by the Israelis. So when they hear such things, see these things and any kind of information in the social media, they get influenced. And with whatever they hear from their family, that even reinforces it. But because they are clueless, they don't have the information, whether religiously, what is Judaism? They always, mix it with Zionism, okay, and it is, and with the conspiracy theories that they are they're feeding them with, and also they don't have any kind of information about the Israeli people, who they are, okay, because they are not exposed to them. And also they don't see the benefits because they don't know what kind of gain their country will gain, whether economically, educationally, whatever. So
and now on that specific issue, I think it's important to lay down these things, these achievements for people who don't know. So I guess my question would be, now we're looking at 3 years to the Abraham Accords. Could you highlight to us some of the successes that you've seen and some of the challenges that we're still facing today? What are the most important and interesting developments that you've seen so far in the past 3 years? and even also some of the goals that still haven't been achieved yet, and we're still looking to achieve them in the future?
Okay. Actually, in summary, I will tell you, and what has proven really successful in the Abraham Accord countries, especially in the UAE where I live now, is the business normalization. The business normalization turned to be excellent, excellent. It couldn't be better from all fields. Call it from trading, from health, from science, everything of technology. It's number one. Okay, it couldn't be better. But the frustration part, in my point of view, and the short outcoming, and why it is so frustrating to me, because I personally was involved in it, it is the people-to-people piece. Honestly, I really don't like to say that, but it turned to be unsuccessful, or it didn't match the expectation, the minimum expectation until now. So that's why its impact on the region is quite limited. We returned back to the box number one, government to government relationship. So until now, all the attempts of people to people peace have to me failed, unfortunately. The cultural events, the educational events. Until now, for example, for me, I couldn't even talk about the Abraham Accord in educational institutes. I don't have because I don't have the backup. There's no strategy at all how we can disseminate such information to the students from elementary until the college. Nothing. And nothing. On the contrary, faculty members who are against the Abraham Accords are now louder than when it started in the 2020. And those who are pro the Abraham Accords like me are marginalized. So this is the problem. This is the problem. So unfortunately, if it failed in a country like UAE, that has been establishing the tolerance and diversity and coexistence since its establishment in the early 80s. So what we imagine in a country like Saudi Arabia that was under a very rigid and ultra conservative religious system for decades. That's what frustrates me.
First of all, I have to tell you that also on a personal level, it's very upsetting to listen to it. Of course, we in ROPES, we do everything possible in order to specifically focus on the people-to-people relations in the region with a holistic vision of the Middle East, where everyone has a place under the sun. We were blessed by our Middle Eastern sun. Sometimes it's even too much. But what we mean is that our programs focus specifically on also educational aspect and bringing the emerging leaders of the region together, Emiratis, Israelis, Palestinians, Bahrainis, Egyptians, Jordanians, and everybody else. And we absolutely hope that it will be possible to promote furthermore these initiatives. Of course, for that, we need also the blessings of the respective governments, but we also need people who believe in it, like you said, people who are enthusiastic about it and see how the region can transform completely with the help of such initiatives and again, provide something more, something regional, something that could be a frame for the Middle East tomorrow, perhaps more EU-styled, something that could indeed give equality and place and a voice and a possibility for cooperation and friendship between various partners in the Middle East.
Definitely, yes. And also, we have to focus on the right channels. The right channels, to me, is not only to talk to the elites. The right channels is to talk from the bottom up, from the grassroots. And in order to make an impact in any society as a people-to-people piece, you have to start with two channels. First, education. Second, the media. And I see those two channels are very weak. So no matter how much you do programs, if you don't tackle those two channels, education and media, all your efforts will go in vain. That's my point of view, honestly.
You're absolutely
So-
right. And specifically for 2023 and now 2024, ROPE's program focus on both media and education. Anybody who is interested to seek more information about our activities and future programs, just log in to ropes.org. So Najat, jumping from our region to international arena, to the global power competition. So it seems that, we hear now when we talk about normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia and the Abraham Accords, of course, we hear that just like in Camp David Accords of 79, there's a lot of involvement of a foreign power, specifically the US, but even more so a result of global power competition. Which global power, in your opinion, will have an upper hand in this case? Promotion of a wider deal between Saudi Arabia, US, and eventually Israel?
Okay, this is also a very important question. Several global powers, including the United States, China, Russia, and the European Union, hold significant interest in the Middle East, with their influence varying depending on specific contexts and regional policies they pursue. So you have those powerful countries globally that are looking forward for such involvement. But in my perspective, the United States stands out as a key player in mediating new peace agreements. This is primarily due to its historical involvement in the region and the presence of a substantial and influential Jewish community. So, because if you want to make a role in such important mediation, you have to have a very long historical involvement, and there must be involvement. So we see in the United States there's a huge influential Jewish community that can play a role compared to the other countries, the other powerful countries. However, the efficacy of the U.S. in this role may be undermined by a divided foreign policy of the U.S. approach and the absence of bipartisan consensus. That's what really frustrates me currently about the U.S. foreign policy now, this kind of division or hatred between the parties. Successful peace agreements require skilled negotiators, such as Jared Kushner. I am one of those, honestly, who are really admiring Jared Kushner. Why? Because I saw him really genuine about this kind of peace agreement. He did his homework from day one about it. He didn't just come like this administration over a sudden, let us make normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. So this shows me as a political observer and analyst that they are doing that currently for political gain and maybe electoral gain, not genuine peace agreement. So successful peace agreements require, who played a pivotal role like Jared Kushner played a pivotal role in engineering the Abraham Accords. So unfortunately, the current administration may lack comparable expertise, and there appears to be a sudden emphasis on this Saudi Israeli normalization, possibly for this political gain, electoral, you can call it electoral consideration, rather than a genuine pursuit of peace. This approach contrasts with potential for initiating the process at the beginning of the presidential term. So if they were really genuine about this peace agreement between those two countries, why they didn't continue what the Trump administration has done from the very beginning? On the contrary, they were against it. They were undermining it only because it comes from the Trump administration, which we see it here in the GCC and the Middle East, very silly. And it shows the division of this country. They were, on the contrary, they were attacking Saudi Arabia. They were calling it a pariah state. And also they were, by being so much pro the Iranian regime and supporting its nuclear program, they even made the Israeli part so worried about their security concerns, and that's what made this kind of government came because they saw the current administration is unreliable to protect them. So they have to be responsible about their own security. So this is the problem. This is the problem here. The United States is the best. However, because of the kind of division, because of this lack of consistency, it might not be number one, even though it's supposed to be number one in this kind of peace agreement. So given the fluctuation nature of U.S. foreign policy, the involvement of less experienced officials, the initiative might shift to other countries, like China, which is emerging as a contender to the U.S. This is how I see it.
So, we discussed the international influence and its attempt to create grand peace agreements, but we do also know that 21 years ago, Saudi Arabia came with a peace initiative, the Arab Peace Initiative. It's 21 years ago now that we saw an attempt like that, and it was actually ratified by the Arab League. But my question...
the Organization Islamic Conference also.
And exactly. And the question is, it's 2 decades later, the question is, we didn't progress much. Is the Arab Peace Initiative still, is it possible to revive? Would the Saudi Arabia consider, after normalization, maybe pushing forward this initiative and not looking at the American influence in order to shape the region, but to take it, as we say, in our own hands here?
And the question is, after normalization, will it still be relevant?
Well, to me, there must be revival of this peace initiative. You couldn't just talk about it. Because it happened 20 years ago. But it has to be revived, and that's what actually happened. The Arab Peace Initiative actually was revived in September 2022, and the revival happened between Saudi Arabia, the EU, and the Arab League. And they were meeting in order to revive certain points, which is, first of all, in the Arab-Israeli conflict, the alarming deterioration of the humanitarian situation, the growing threats on the two-state solution, with the rapid growth of settlements point to an explosive situation that may erupt at any time, and the spiral into new wave of violence or even a war threatening the people of Palestine and the widened region. So these are the points that they have just discussed lately in September 2022. Because if you want to revive the Arab Peace Initiative that happened 21 years ago, you have to see what actually the main obstacles that is putting ahead to make it actually being accomplished. So what are they? In their opinion, is humanitarian situation, and also the growing settlement. So we are talking about two-state solution, while there are more settlements. So how we can actually accomplish this? So these are the points that need to be discussed. Are we still going to be clinged to that idea of the two-state solution? Is it doable? Is it not? So so here we have to discuss things more comprehensively and scientifically and debate on the ground. That's why I see one of the benefits and why I was encouraged to support this Abraham Accord, because I was hoping that through this kind of normalization that I will see experts from the Arab world to go on ground and make studies, and see actually on the ground from actual land perspective and people perspective, whether the two-state solution is doable or not. And then they come with potential with alternative solutions if the two-state solution is not doable. But to keep repeating the same thing, or to depend on something that has been told 20 years ago without reviving it, to me, that will end it up, and will just keep it a talk. We don't want talk. We want actual things to be done.
Yes,
and then actual things to be done.
Spelled already in this mill.
Yeah, you have to go on ground. You couldn't just meet in conferences. This is actually when I do a study, I have to go on ground to make it, and it's only a study. Imagine that I'm making a policy making for such long-lasting conflict like this. Definitely, I couldn't just be, within conferences. I have to go on the ground and see. And this is what actually encouraged me to go and visit over there. But I needed support to go out and be involved in such policy making. So that's why I was constrained with the educational institutes. But in order to make policy making, you have to go on ground, you have to test it and see whether it is doable or not. And you see the obstacles, and you have to be really neutral from both sides, the Israeli side and the Palestinian side. If there are any obstacle of the two-state solution, you have to tell us why. Is it leadership problem? Is it people problem? Are the people like accepting the two-state solution, or they want it all, either all or nothing? So we have to know why it's not accomplished for more than 20 years ago. There must be, we want ground and the practical reasons for that, not only what we observed through the media.
Well, Najat, I can just tell you that I would wish that you would serve as a special advisor on behalf of the academy and expertise on this very important and vital process that otherwise it seems very often, and I'm telling you this as a former politician myself, as a former member of Knesset, it seems to me a lot of time that these policies are just driven at the last moment after some night-long meeting. Okay, let's try this, let's try that, without thorough research and so on. So, but if something makes me feel that there is a way to promote, at least in the slightest way, the solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's precisely the possible reconciliation between Israel and Saudi Arabia. Because as a heavyweighter, in addition, of course, to all other countries that have joined the normalization process before, perhaps this will be the critical weight that will be able to push both sides in the right direction, actually. I would like to ask you about the changing realities in our region. So we saw the Abraham Accords, and then the Gulf Turkey reconciliation, and then Gulf Iranian reconciliation. Is it in a way a new Middle East like the late president of Israel, Shimon Peres, envisaged? And what do you think about the future, perhaps, but so essential, common Middle Eastern identity that will be available and inclusive for all people and communities in our region? For us in ROPES, it's a long-term time dream.
Well, for me, it is quite premature to definitely label it as a new Middle East, because it happened very recent. We don't know what will happen. It might work and it might not work. Especially like a country like Saudi Arabia and Iran, for example, they have been in conflict, and I'm specifically here highlighting the Iranian regime, for many, many years. And this reconciliation just happened recently. We need to test it. Is Iran gonna abide by what it happened? Is it gonna stop interference or not? We still do not know. And even with Turkey, is Erdogan gonna remain and his party gonna remain pragmatic, thinking about focusing on the economic perspective and the good for his country, or the idea of supporting the Muslim Brotherhood will be revived again? So we are still under testing. So that's why it's premature to call it the new Middle East based on what happened recently. But definitely, greater cooperation will reduce the tension, and accordingly, when you reduce the tension, that will increase the peace. And when there's peace, that means that there's better development and better economy, and that's our main alternative goal: more prosperity and better economy for our people, and definitely better stability. Okay, so definitely cooperation, regional cooperation, is on the benefit of everybody. However, but the factors are still there. There's still the ongoing Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It hasn't been resolved. There are still regional rivalries between, for example, Iran and Turkey, between, for example, the GCC countries and Iran still hasn't gone. The proxy wars are still there. The Iranian impact on Lebanon, on Yemen, on Syria and Iraq are still there. And different political ideologies continue to shape the region's dynamics. The ideologies have not gone. It's still the impact of Islamism is still there. To overcome these obstacles, sustained commitment to diplomacy, resolution of existing conflicts, and broader regional stability are definitely needed. So we have to solve our problems diplomatically, and that's why I keep always highlighting the importance of public diplomacy, because the media can play a great role of either increasing this cooperation or inflaming the political ideologies. So while the recent developments are promising steps towards positive change in the Middle East, it remains a complex and evolving situation that will require ongoing efforts and negotiations to fully realize Shimon Peres' vision of a more peaceful and cooperation region. This is how I see it.
I guess this our path ahead is long and full of challenges towards this our vision of a Middle East for all of us, but we believe and we will continue to do this work and to push for integration, cooperation, and for peace for everyone in this region, because it's for us and we need to make sure we shape our own future. And thank you so much for your insights, Dr. Najat. We really appreciate you and appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you for inviting me and for this great discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed ROPECAST. Our podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundTrack, and all quality platforms. We are very grateful to all our listeners from the Middle East, Europe, the US, and from all across the world. You can support our work by small donation. More details on our website at ropes.org. And we also invite you to follow us on ropes.org on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads to find out more about our work with the emerging leaders from the Middle East. I'm Ibrahim Abu Ahmed.
And I'm Ksenia Svetlova.
Shalom.
And salam.